Hi, hello. Welcome to tonight's conversation with best-selling historical romance authors Darcy Burke and Erica Ridley. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Thank you both for being here. I really appreciate that you made the time since I know you are gearing up for some exciting new releases, which we'll get to in a moment, but a few quick introductions. Darcy Burke is the USA Today bestselling author of sexy, emotional, historical, and contemporary romance. And Darcy wrote her first book at age 11, which I think is pretty amazing. And Erica Ridley is a New York Times and US Today. Oh my God, I'm sorry. You have to bring that out. I love it.
I know.
It features an adorable swan.
I didn't leave it here on purpose, but it comes up a lot. So.
Oh my God. Wait, did you also draw that? Sorry. Did you
Oh, yeah. It's like a picture book. That's why the bio says extremely poor illustrations, because it's a swan, and a swan you can make really easily if you draw an S. But then if you do them facing the other way, you have to do a backwards S. Oh, can't do it.
If anyone takes anything away from this, it's how to draw a swan.
Exactly.
All right. So Erica Ridley is our other guest, and she is a New York Times and USA Today bestselling author of witty, feel-good historical romance novels. Two of her popular series are The Dukes of War and Rogues to Riches, which feature roguish peers and dashing war heroes who find love amongst the splendor and madness of Regency England. So, as I said, I'm so happy you guys are here. And I guess I want to pass it off to you to kind of talk a little bit about what we're doing here, your author history as an indie publisher, your books and your relationship to each other. So I will leave it to Darcy to take the lead here.
Well, Erica and our friendship predates the whole publishing thing. So we met online. Was it a Yahoo loop?
I think so.
Yeah. My children were tiny, and now they're graduating from high school and college. So that gives you a sort of a frame of reference. But yeah, that was like almost 20 years ago. So that's how we became friends, and we've been friends ever since. And writing is a small portion of that. Now, obviously, that's how we met. It's sort of like you meet someone at work, right? And then you become lifelong pals. And that's us. So, it's great that we also get to still work together, which is why we're here chatting. But,
so how long have you been publishing?
Yeah, I started indie publishing in 2012, and then I also wrote, I independently published historical romance, and then I wrote contemporary romance for a New York publisher. And then I counted up, it's like 12 series, and the last book in the Lord's Love series that we'll talk about, Matching the Marquess, is my 60th book. So
wow,
yay, I didn't realize.
Wonderful. That is a very amazing, career and amount of titles. Wow, you guys are machines when it comes to writing. I don't know how you do it, but it's so
we don't either.
Maybe we'll get to it. All right, Erica, how about you take it away?
I also have about 12 series. I also just counted, and I only have 59 books. So I'm one short of Darcy's record. But we have been writing for about the same amount of time, so that makes sense. I started my first book was published in 2010 with a traditional New York publisher, and then I started indie publishing. My first book was 2013. So I have been doing that for about 10 years, and most of my books are indie published.
How come you guys switched to indie publishing? You said you both had, traditional publishers, and then you switched to indie, if you don't mind me asking. Sort of what was the thinking of that?
Go ahead.
So in my case, I did start traditional, and then I switched to indie. I liked the freedom of it. I liked being able to write whatever I wanted. At the time, or probably still now, I tend to write a little bit out of the box. I'm not really good at following what people expect. And that's easier to do indie. And you can find your niche markets a little bit better there. I am hybrid now. I do have a series with a traditional publisher as well as publishing indie. So I kind of have the best of both worlds. It's the same, it's historical romance in both cases, but they're different kinds of books. So I think you can do both or either. So,
Yeah, I feel like that's what's so nice about indie publishing is you can literally just publish whatever you want, or not whatever, but as you know, what you want. And it doesn't matter if you're looking for a traditional publishing opportunity or not, you still have the opportunity to get your book out there. And Darcy, what about you?
Same. I would just add that one of the things I really like about indie publishing is we're able to sort of pivot and change our marketing strategies, our packaging strategies in ways that traditional publishers can't. So,
Right.
if I have a series that I want to refresh for a new audience, a series I wrote, 6, 7 years ago or whatever, I can do that. And it's all within, my ability to do it. And I can set up my own, ways to promote it and ways to share it with new readers. And so I really like that flexibility.
Right. Yeah, that's nice when you have that amount of control and you really can figure out, the style and the branding that you want. And it also gives you the opportunity to work with who you want. So, speaking of, that's why we're here today to talk to you both about how you co-wrote a series together. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you each individually wrote a book in the series, but it's all a connected series. Is that correct? Or did you co-write? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So this is our second time collaborating on a series, and we've done it the same both ways. So we come up with a world that we're going to set our characters in, and then we each write a book. Like in this case, I'm writing the odd numbers, and Erica's writing the even numbers. Do I have that right? I always get them.
Yeah, and we did it the other way around last time.
Last time was yeah. So yeah, and so it's not technically co-writing in that we don't write a story together, but we come up with the world and sort of, and the, what the series is going to be about and how the book.
A collaboration,
sort of
right? Like you're collaborating together on this series. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But,
no, I'm done.
And so this, as you said, you're coming out with a second series. Is it separate from that first series, or is it okay? So it's a completely different series. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the new series that's coming out, when it's coming out? Erica, if you want to take that one.
Okay. So the Lords in Love series features a matchmaking festival. It is England's largest imaginary matchmaking festival that Darcy and I invented. And
maybe it'll inspire something. I love that.
What I love is that it's not just aristocrats, because oftentimes with Regency romance, you just get dukes and ballrooms and nothing else. And we do have some of that, of course, but we were able to have people from all different backgrounds, which is something that I really enjoy. So we center all of the stories around the matchmaking festival. And one of the really fun things is that we each interpret that different ways with each story. So it's not the same thing every time. And we also decided a little bit differently this time that we wouldn't necessarily overlap the timelines for each of these stories. So they kind of take place over, I think it's 3 years, right, Dars?
Like yeah, I think so, yeah.
So it's kind of fun in that way too, to see the progression.
Oh, okay. So it starts somewhere and then it progresses to over 3 years and ends up, in this.
Yeah, it's the matchmaking festival is annual. So every year there's a different group of people.
Oh, that's so fun.
It's around May Day. So, right around, so it's the same time every year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Dancing around the maypole. I realize we have no dancing around any maypoles.
Oh, no.
I should add one. I'm going to add one right now.
A special edition for Barnes & Noble and Nook, and add a chapter about dancing around the maypole.
It's so funny.
I'm having ideas.
I'm mightily amused by this. I'm writing maypole.
I like this. See, this is great. Who knows where I.
So the first books are out now, and then the final books will be coming out over the next 2 months.
How many books again are in the series?
There will be 7 total.
Okay. So how many books are out now? Do we know?
Oh. Right?
Okay.
4. Yes.
4?
So
yes.
books 1 through 4. Yeah.
That was a stumper question.
And then 5 and 6 will be out in May and June.
Okay.
And then there's a 7th book that I'll let Erica talk about, because it's her 7th book, and I may write an 8th book because I feel like I should, because Erica wrote a 7th book, but I'm not committing to that. And if I do, it'll be around the holidays. So
okay. Got it. Well, that's exciting. So now readers will have a chance to really like binge the series come
Mhm.
summer. So good beach reads on the way, I think. So that was called, what was the series name again? I'll put this link in our when this gets posted, but for everyone who's coming here, it was called The
Lords in Love.
Lords in Love. And what was the other series?
Wicked Dukes Club.
Got it, Wicked Dukes Club. And that is very different than this one, Darcy?
I think so, just because the Wicked Dukes Club centers around a club in London. And so it's, I don't know, it's sort of city versus country, I guess. I don't know, kind of. And then the matchmaking festival, Merrywell, is like a day's ride from London. I do want to say that we came up with the name Merrywell because it seemed like a funny thing, but there was a whole list of other names that I think one of the things Eric and I have the most fun doing is coming up with ridiculous titles for things that we'll never use. But one day we'll do our anthology that do you want to
Yes, exactly.
our Rakes and Hoes anthology.
We come up with lots of ideas that never get greenlit, but we have so much fun just spitballing.
They have to go into this special edition of Dancing Around the Maypole.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back, on this idea that you guys collaborated together, and I want to dive into maybe a little bit of the process of that. So where did this idea come from? And how did you decide to collaborate originally, and then again, in this new instance? Darcy, if you want to take it.
I think we just, that's right, I did make a note. And I think we just always wanted to do something together. We just weren't really sure what it would be because we've been friends forever. And so, I don't know, it was like 4 years ago that we did Wicked Dukes Club, I think. And so we thought, well, we could write something together. And I think Eric came up with an idea where we do, each of us
Cheers
writes a
in
book.
Regency England, we said.
What's that?
Cheers in Regency
Cheers in
England.
Regency England. Yeah. And so that's, where they have this club and all the guys, you walk in and they're like, Norm. And I mean, I'm a little disappointed now we didn't name any of the characters Norm, but that maybe a little too on the nose. I don't know. But so we did that, and we had a lot of fun with it. We translated it you can get it in German and Italian and French, and it was well received. We had a really good time doing it. So last year I was like, hey, you want to do it again? And I was like, yeah, sure. So, and then I don't really know how we came up with the matchmaking festival. I don't remember.
Specifically May Day. I don't know now.
I don't either.
Well, I'm sure we were just coming up with ridiculous ideas, and it was the least wild thing.
Right. I remember we also talked about doing like retellings of like books or movies or something.
Oh yeah.
And I was not, I don't know what I was struggling with that for some reason. But yeah.
So did you guys, sorry to interject.
No, we just ended up
sparked yeah, well, I like that. But it sounds like you had other ideas that could be potential future collaborations, maybe.
Oh, we always have more ideas than we could possibly write in a lifetime. So
yeah.
No shortage of ideas.
No shortage of ideas. It's literally this planning out the rest of my year because I keep changing my mind. I write that next. I want to write all the things.
Well, that's good. But who wants to be sitting there being like, I don't know what to write next? But it's always nice, especially to have someone to bounce ideas off of. So what perspective did each of you bring to this process of, collaborating on these individual books that are part of a larger series? Erica, if you want to start.
Well, I think Darcy and I have a lot of crossover fans, and I think part of that maybe has to do with the fact that we are friends, we promote each other's work, but I think that there must be some common thread between the way that both of us write that attracts the same sort of reader. But that said, we do have different voices and different styles, and so it's a lot of fun to bring both of those together on the same series. And we also exchange our manuscripts and critique each other's work, and we really do collaborate on the story world, and we'll have phone calls, we'll FaceTime and hash things out, and work together that way as well. And we've always done that. We've always bounced ideas and brainstormed together. So it's very collaborative.
And I think that's what I like about it, because back in the early days, before we were published, we would like send each other like, "This is what I wrote today." It was a scene or whatever,
Aw.
and I know. Oh, to go back and read
We
those
were
and-
so cute.
yes, yes, we were. Yeah, I think about all the time we had then.
I know. We literally would email like a new scene or a new chapter every single day. to
Every
each
single
other.
day.
That's amazing. It's like
Like-
amazing to have so much support between the two of you. You know, that's like, you know, that's very, I would say I hope it's not unique completely, but it is unique to have that kind of
Well-
friendship and support between each other.
And you get away from it over
Yeah.
time as you become busier, and you know, we're published now and we have all these
Yeah.
other things we have to do, and so doing this together, it sort of forces us to which I like, because
Yeah.
I do love bouncing ideas off of Erica and getting her input, and it always makes everything better for me. So
No, well, that's really sweet. And I think, you know, with these two collaborations, you can really see that idea of your friendship, and hopefully more will come, you know, in the future as well. It's just it's just nice that you guys are able to do this together now twice. So how did you ensure then there was connectivity between the different books since they were individually written? Darcy, if you want to start.
So we talk about some stuff in the beginning, but we also don't want to be like, you have to do this and you have to do that. You know, we want to write our own books too, right? And so we keep like a sort of a Bible between us where we can record details about the festival or whatever we're writing, and characters, like if we want to use similar, you know, the same background characters or something, we can do that. And also, so we know that, like, hey, the assembly room, there's an assembly room and there's a sculpture garden behind it. And because Eric had added that, and I was like, oh, I need the sculpture garden. I can do that. so that's actually really nice. It's sort of like having like a sort of a built-in, not story starter, but just sort of idea generator a little bit, because you know, we'll come up with different things, and for me it helps jumpstart, you know, maybe something that I need. So
Are these books standalone? Could you read them on their own as well?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, okay. So that's good. I mean, but what does connect them then, other than it's just the festival?
the maypole that doesn't exist.
Yes, exactly. The maypole. But you said there's also characters that weave in and out of the stories?
There are there's crossover characters and places, not main characters in this one. In the previous series, we did have a lot of crossover characters and even scenes, I think, which is a lot more intense when you're writing. But with this one, we'll like name drop each other's characters and things like that. And it's primarily the festival itself.
So was that a decision you guys made not to do as much crossover in this series? Yes. Yeah.
Well, and it was harder to do with the setting, because when we wrote Wicked Dukes, it wasn't tied to a certain event, a time of year. And so to write, you know, the festival is a week long, and to write 6 books or 7 books in the span of a week with them, I mean, yeah, that was just a nightmare situation that I mean, I'm writing a series right now where it's all at the same house party, and I want to shoot myself for doing that, because having to come up like, oh, this scene happened in this book and that, and oh, who was there?
The continuity.
I've already done one continuity error.
Yeah. So this at least gives you more freedom, you know, that it's a little bit more freeing to be able to have the characters, but not have everything so interactive between, you know, the different books, but there's still that through line. So, so, you know, this was obviously a challenge, I guess, when you did the first series together. So what other challenges happened, you know, during the collaboration that you guys both sort of overcame? Erica, if you want to start on that one.
I would say, in my opinion, the biggest one was, I mean, 4 years ago, we were 4 years younger. It was pre-pandemic. We were apparently writing like the wind.
Oh my
and
God.
we were a little bit overconfident, I think.
Yeah.
When we set this up, we were like, oh, you know, it's easy. We're just going to, there, 6 books. And it didn't work exactly like that. So we had to kind of reevaluate some of our expectations and adjust our timing on the fly.
I was trying to think if with Wicked Dukes we gave ourselves more lead time than we did with this series. I don't know that we did, but I want to tell myself that we did.
That we might not have, but yeah.
No, I don't think we did. But yeah, and I think I don't know. I think the market changes so quickly, and like I was talking about earlier, we can pivot and do things based on what we see. And I think when we conceived of a series 4 years ago, and we were doing releasing fortnightly, so that it was you could get a new book in the series every 2 weeks. This time around, it feels a little bit like we need a little bit more breathing room between the books. I don't know if that's just my sort of weird gut instinct that may not be right. So I just, I don't know, you just have to be mindful of, what works. We're just constantly tweaking, trying to see what's the right way to do something, the best way to do something.
Right. It sounds like you learned a lot from that first experience that you're applying now to this one. And that's interesting about the release schedule. You said you had a 2-week release schedule on the last one, and this one is slightly different. I mean, have you noticed a difference already? Because you've already released a few books.
Well, the first few books did come. We did it like the last one, so every 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And now for the last 2 books, we spaced them out a little bit more.
Okay.
Which I think is nice, because it's done, like you said, it's done in June, and people can binge read over the summer.
Right.
And so I like the timing of that. So,
is there going to be a box set for them or no?
Maybe. We did do a limited edition box set for the previous series, so we might do that again.
Yeah.
Just so everyone can binge all those books in one place. Well, for my last question in this section, so did you learn anything about yourselves while you were, doing this project together? Anything about your writing, or even just, the way you work? Erica, if you want to go first.
Well, it's not really new information, but I very much appreciate Darcy's feedback. I feel like every time she reads something of mine, the comments she gives me definitely make the book better. And it makes me a little nostalgic for the old days when we read everything, every word each other wrote. And we don't do that anymore. But so the series that we write together is very special in that way.
Yeah, agreed. And I would just add that, as Erica mentioned earlier, I'm just not as young as I used to be, sadly.
It's very disappointing to find that out.
It is. God. Pulling all-nighters just isn't a thing anymore. So.
Oh, man. Who has time for that? I need sleep.
I know. I've never been really good at that, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things I want to talk to you guys about is, how this collaboration is something that other authors can potentially emulate, how, co-writing is a great tool for other indie authors. So, what are the positive takeaways do you have from doing this project together? Darcy, if you want to start.
So like Erica said, we have a lot of readers that read both of us. And then surprisingly, we have some readers that don't read both of us. I've had some people email me and they're like, oh, I hadn't read you before, and then I picked up your books because of Erica. And I'm like, okay, how is that possible? We're constantly like, anyway, it's funny. But,
hey, you can find new readers.
People confuse us all the time.
That is a funny thing. Darcy's always getting complimented on my books, and I'm always getting complimented on her books. And I'm like, yes, thank you.
I will take it. I will take this compliment.
Yeah. And so, I don't know, I just encourage other writers, if you have a good friend, especially someone who you just have like a long history with, and that you is someone who sort of shares your, why you write and what you're hoping to do. And if you can collaborate on something together, why not? It's, frankly, it makes the job more fun, makes it a little bit easier. Because when you do struggle, which we all do from time to time with different books, somebody else is enmeshed in it with you, which is great. I mean, I don't mean that. It sounds like it's great.
No,
We're suffering together.
Well, writing is such like a solitary thing a lot of the time, right? And I think for indie authors especially, or the ones who are self-publishing, going and finding other authors, like the indie community is so supportive and helpful, and is there, if you go and find it, whether that's on Facebook groups or you go to conferences, things like that. So I think this idea of just getting out of your writing hole and meeting other people could be helpful, just also for your own, publishing business and your brand and things like that, but also as to make new friends.
I'll also add
yeah.
two other things that I think are positives is, well, we've kind of alluded to it, but you get to share each other's platform. I think that's a big thing, not
Right.
just with the fans themselves directly, but also things like Darcy and I each have our own Facebook groups, for example, and there's not 100% crossover there either, or our newsletters or whatever. And so even if you do have fans that are repeated on both places, not everybody reads everything all the time, right? Not everybody's reading every Facebook post or newsletter or whatever. And so you have a higher chance of coming across their mentions and getting awareness out that way. And then the other thing, and possibly, well, I don't know if it's bigger, but equally important, is it's faster. It's faster. I can't write 6 books in 3 months, but like together, you're twice as fast when you're working with a friend. So from the reader's perspective, they're getting to binge the series so much faster than either one of us would have been able to pull off on our own. And that's priceless.
Especially if you're trying to build a backlist, right? I mean, if you're a newer author trying to build out your backlist, which we've talked about, I've talked about with other authors when in doing these interviews, they talk about, how important that backlist is to finding new readers or generating income and sales and things like that. And so this way you can fill out your backlist quicker if you're working with someone else. The other thing that just came to my mind is, how do you go about marketing something like a collaborative series or a co-written series? Is it do you market it differently than you would your own standalone books? Are there any differences in the way you approach your promoting and marketing?
I don't think there's really a difference. 2 heads are better than one. So that's like the benefit of it, right?
Right.
And so we had a strategy for different things we were going to use for sort of online word of mouth with different promoters that we were going to use at the start of the series and then again at the end of the series. And, reaching out to, people like you and our lovely vendors and just looking for opportunities for both of our books to be included. So like one of the things we did earlier this month is we put the first series on sale, like all the books for 99 cents. It's done now, but anyway, that was cool for a couple of weeks.
Guys.
But it was good so people could maybe try that, and then, oh, by the way, there's a new series. And once again, because we have control as indie authors, we can go into those Wicked Dukes books and go, hey, here's an excerpt from a Lords in Love book. Go check that out, and push people to read the new series. So.
And I would say one other thing, probably the only thing really that I would say I do differently is, since anytime I mention my books in the series, I mention Darcy's books.
Right.
So I will frequently have the whole list of all the books and link to it, which I don't necessarily do. If I'm having a new book in a series that I'm the only person writing it, I'll just mention whatever the current book is and maybe whatever one's coming next. But this way I'm kind of mentioning the whole series every time as a single unit.
So what I'm getting is, not only is it great to have to collaborate like this, because you really fill out a bunch of, you get a lot of books at a very short time period. So you got your backlist, like getting stacked. You can do crossover promotion between your readership and, the other authors. And so that, you boosting your engagement through your social channels, if you're promoting with each other. I think it sounds like this is a really great tool for other authors to really try and find someone that that you connect with, or that your books may connect with their readers. And I think, it just sounds like this is such a great way to to build your readership out. Also for you guys, obviously, you know, work together as friends. So what other advice would you give then to these, you know, indie authors looking to co-write together, whether that's, you know, an actual book co-written or collaborate on a series like you did? Darcy, do you want to go first?
I would just say, you know, I think something that's been pretty popular for a long time are authors will come together and do anthologies, whether that's a backlist book or they'll write a new book. And that can be really great, but it can also be a lot of work because you're wrangling lots of authors. And then you have to figure out, like, you know, who's going to publish it, and then you have to pay everybody. It's just, you know, it's a little more complicated. And something like this allows us to sort of, I think, have the benefits of that, but still being able to, but we're still indie publishing our own books, I guess. And so I just think it's another option for people to think about when they think about working with other authors.
And I would add to that a couple things, pieces of advice. So first, I would say, sometimes with those anthologies, people will find themselves writing something different than what they normally write, and fit with the theme or whatever. And I think, I'm not going to say it's a mistake, but it can not hit at your audience. You want to attract the people who's going to want to read the rest of your backlist or whatever series you have coming next. So when you pick a person to co-write with, ideally you do have existing crossover in your market, or realistic potential for a crossover in your market. Yep. And if you can, you know, you want to pick someone at your level, or maybe a little bit more popular. But I don't think you need to try and find like a superstar either, because then you run the risk of people only reading their books and not caring about your book. And then the other really important thing is, I would say, find someone whose style you vibe with. So like, I am a plotter. I like to know what's going to happen. And when I write a book, when I'm done, you know, it needs copy edits or whatever, but I rarely have to go back and do massive rewrites. But I have worked in the past with authors who that is not their process at all. They will frequently go back and redo everything. But if I've already written my story based on what you said in your first draft, which you sent to me, and then you change the whole thing, then it's more work for everybody. And again, everybody has their own process. I'm not criticizing, but if that is your process, you have to build in more time for that. And everybody has to be aware of the expectations up front so that they can plan for that, because it is a bit of a shock when you find out.
Sounds like from experience.
And it's like, wait, I have to rewrite my story because you rewrote yours? What just happened?
But that is a great piece of advice that I didn't really, you know, think through, you know, when we were talking about this. Yeah, you do want to make sure that your styles of writing are similar so that you stay on the same pace, right? And this way you can get the books out on the deadlines that you set. So that's definitely a key component.
Yeah.
So like when Darcy and I do our translations, we will oftentimes wait for the books to be translated before we put them on pre-order, just because it's not up to us. And if my translator gets hit by a bus or whatever, like, what am I going to do? Translate it into German myself? Not. So, you know, whereas depending on how long it takes you, the writer, to write a book, you may want to bank your books first and not necessarily be like writing as you go. It just, it's very personal, everybody's writing style, but just be honest with yourself and put in a pillow, put in a mattress, a little bit extra time. You may need it.
A little buffer. So we talked about anthologies, which is another way that authors can collaborate together, which sounds like they're a little bit, I don't know, you guys, do you advocate for doing anthologies? I know you've been in a few, right?
I actually coordinated one last fall, and there were 12 of us, and they were all brand new stories, and that's how we got book 7 and Lords in Love, because Erica's like, hey, I got an idea for my story. It's going to be part of our series. And I'm like, cool. And I would have done the same, but I already had another idea. I was doing a prequel for another series. So anyway, but yeah, it was a lot of work, but it was super fun. Like I really liked that they were original stories, and they were all like set around the holidays. It was called Duke in a Box. And the cover was like what you think it is, the Duke with the box. And and I was going to make Christmas cards with that and send them out one year, but I just wasn't sure if it was for everyone. But anyway, I think it's really tongue-in-cheek funny. But yeah, so it was a lot of work. I mean, I don't know when I would do it again. But it was, and I don't know, when you have that many books, like I'm pretty confident of people who bought the set probably didn't read them all. You know, they
Right.
picked and choose, you know, they might have found a new author or two, but they were probably buying it because there were a few in there
Mhm.
that they regularly read, and that's why they bought it. And so the goal is that, you know, you're going to get some cross promotion there. But I think with either a smaller anthology or like doing what Erica and I is doing, it maybe you have a little more stickiness
Mhm.
with finding new readers.
Yeah, so these bigger ones are kind of tough to, you can get lost in them essentially.
I would say it depends what your goals are. So like if
Mm.
your goal is
Mhm.
revenue, then I would definitely do a co-written series because
Okay.
having the standalone books is going to generate more money. But if your
Correct.
goal is exposure and getting in front of
Mm.
new people, then doing an anthology makes more sense because when you're writing a series yourself, your fans are your main audience. But when
Mhm.
you're in front of other people's audience, that will get you the exposure. So it just really depends what your goals are.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
Are there other areas of collaboration that our authors could do together that maybe isn't an anthology or a co-writing or a series or things like that? Anything you guys can think of?
Yeah, Doris, why don't we talk about our newsletter thing?
Ooh.
Our newsletter thing. Oh. It's just we set it up a while ago. So right. So oh God. Are we
Duke
talking
of the
about
month.
Dukes or are we talking about
Duke of the month. Duke of the month.
Duke of
plug.
the month? Oh, my thing. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm silly like that. Okay, so when I put together the Duke in the Box anthology, the other piece of that I wanted to do is what really came first is the Duke of the Month newsletter. And so I wanted, you know, it's kind of popular now for authors to do a sort of round robin newsletter situation. 12 authors come together and everybody gives out a free book a month during that year. And some
One
people only do
person
it
per
for-
month.
Yeah, one person. Yeah, one person per month. Yeah, I'm not giving out 12 books. I'm giving out one book. And Eric is giving out one book, and somebody else
Got
is
it.
giving out. Yeah, so you each have your month. And so I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to do this anthology to sort of these 12 authors we could cross promote and, you know, see what other readers we could gather up. And so if you signed up for the newsletter, you could get a coupon, including at Barnes & Noble, to get the Duke in a Box anthology. If you pre-ordered it, you got it at a lower price.
Mm.
So it was really a great way to build a newsletter. And then we've just kept the newsletter going because it's a really great opportunity for us to cross promote new releases and sales. And we have a Facebook group attached to it where people can promote and advertise on. Every month somebody gets a book from a maybe new to them author. So that's good promo. So yeah, it's been, my assistant does a great job.
So this is like a collaborative newsletter, would you say? Like you, okay.
Yeah. It's called Duke of the Month, and it's everybody contributes a free book for 1 month each year. We don't call them spotlight authors, but something like that, you know, like this month it's Erica's book, or it's not really Erica's book this month. I forget whose book it is this month, but I know it's not yours. So it's terrible. I know.
How do people sign up for this? Is it for everyone, you know, every author who's featured? Do they have like a sign up on their website? If you're a reader,
So we promote it in our
maybe
own newsletters, like our
Oh,
individual
okay.
newsletters,
Yeah.
and then there's also a website and a Facebook page.
Okay.
Um,
Okay, so for anyone trying to emulate that, it's, you know, you're collaborating on a newsletter and you promote it in your individual newsletters, but this one is specifically as a way to give readers new choices on maybe who they might like to read. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So yes, you could go to dukeofthemonth.com and
Got it.
sign up for it there.
There you go. That's what I was getting to. Where can someone sign up?
I'm sorry, I was not prepared to talk about Duke of the Month. I would bad sales
you off guard.
opportunities, Darcy.
No, this is great. All right, so I have to ask. It probably is too soon, but any collaborations in the future potentially?
Never say
More?
never.
Never say never.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
But yeah, we got to finish this one first. It's
Are you finding that a lot of your fans are you know, hungry for more of these kind of things? Do they respond well? Are they responding well to the idea of these collaborative series?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. I mean, fans are funny. They will often, the day after a book releases, be ready for the next book. And you can't usually do it that fast. So I think it's a nice treat when we can give them a series this quickly.
And I think some people would have liked just more Wicked Dukes, but we wanted
Ooh.
to do something different. So, yeah.
Well, never say never there
Never say-
either, I guess.
Wicked Dukes meets Lords in Love. And then what happens?
Yeah. Oh my
We
god.
open up a Wicked Dukes club in Merrywell.
Called the Wicked Maypole.
Oh, Erica.
This is what we're like. I'm so sorry.
This is it, yes. There's going to be
Honestly.
I guarantee you, there's going to be a whole email or text thread of potential titles.
We're gonna send mock covers to
I
each
can't
other. Now.
wait.
It's gonna be amazing.
You guys should A/B test them and like. Do you guys do that where you like test things out with your fans? What do you think of this one? What do you think of this one? Or
We
you're just
don't
like,
do a lot
I
of
do.
that. Do you?
I've run cover. I did that last year with a new series, and I had put it up for pre-order with one cover, and then I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try this other kind of cover, and I ran some ads to see which one was better, and it was actually the new one won, so I replaced the cover. And I have a new series coming up later this year, and I'm gonna do the same thing because I can't decide what kind of cover I want, so other people can decide for me.
yeah. Hey, leave it to the fans to give you, that insight and information on what they
Yeah.
are drawn
What
to.
appeals to them? Yeah.
So that's actually another great, idea. If you can't figure out exactly how the look and feel should be, you can A/B test, as they say, and put out both.
Well, there's so many different kinds of cover, especially for historical romance.
Right.
When you walk into a bookstore, it's almost all like a hand-drawn illustrated covers.
Yes.
But so many of our readers just love the old school clinches and the dresses, and and so it's hard to know what's I'm sure there's a faction for each.
Yeah. How did you guys decide on how the covers would look? Did you talk about that, or just kind of like we know?
Well, with
go
each other.
Right.
We didn't like open it up to the fans in this case, but
Yeah.
No, but that was something you guys talked through and decided on, and okay, further collaborative discussions were needed.
Yes, and hired one designer who did them all, and yeah.
So I think we're sort of at the end, and I wanted to just say again, thank you for being here with me tonight. And so where can someone find this wonderful series?
Barnes and Noble. In
And
Nook
Nook.
and in paperback, yes.
Yes.
Either way.
Are they in audio?
They're not in audio.
They're not in audio.
Will they be in audio?
Never say never.
Never say never.
Ah, okay. Was the other series in audio?
No.
Oh, okay. So just as books. That's
Yeah,
for now. Just
yeah.
physical,
For now.
digital. Okay, so that new series. When's the next book dropping, and what is it called? Just remind everyone. One more.
The next book is called Matching the Marquess, and it comes May 23rd.
Ah.
And it's kind of funny because I think it's the only book at the about a matchmaking festival with a matchmaker in it. Which seems kind of redundant. Why do you need a matchmaker at a matchmaking festival? But that is addressed. So.
Well, now this makes me think about, okay, so if there's there's no matchmaker at the matchmaking festival? They all kind of find each other?
It's sort of like, think of it like a really abbreviated London season where, the whole idea of the Marriage Mart, right, is like you go to the balls and you go to Almack's and whatever else. And in Merrywell, it's like concentrated into a week with all this stuff. And let me tell you, Eric and I have come up with tons of stuff for them to do. There's even a beer garden. So there's no maypole, but there's a beer garden.
I was going to say, what can readers expect from this series? It sounds.
So it's sort of like, it's I guess it's its own like little abbreviated Marriage Mart, right?
Yeah. And the idea is that everyone who attends, unlike London, literally everyone who's at this festival is looking for love.
Yeah.
So you just have a higher probability of finding someone.
Is there anything else you want to let readers know about the new series? Anything about, the books, favorite characters? Is there someone in particular you guys are like, oh, I can't wait for you guys to read this one?
Well, my book, Defying the Earl, just came out, and it's one of my favorite things that I've written recently. It's a Grump Sunshine Guardian Ward book, and it is so much fun. It was so much fun to write, and I've been getting just the best feedback from people that smiled through the whole thing. So if you like rom-coms, definitely check it out.
Erica writes so funny. I'm not quite that funny. I try to be. I do have, I think, a pretty funny scene in Matching the Marquess coming up, where the hero is attempting to make himself less attractive.
Puts on a disguise.
Somewhat, yes.
Do you have a favorite book that you've written in the series, Darcy?
Probably this one, Matching the Marquess. Yeah, and I say that a lot. Usually, my favorite book is the one I'm working on, right?
Yeah.
It's in my head. I don't know, right?
Well, is there any other advice for indie authors looking to start a collaboration with another author? Any parting words? No.
Just, I don't know. Just don't delay. Run and do it. Right
Don't
now.
be shy. Don't be
Well,
shy.
like they say, done is better than perfect, right? So like, don't get too hung up on the details and like go for it. Find a friend, do it. If it works, great. If it didn't work, that doesn't mean it failed. It means it was a learning experience, and now you know what you would do differently the next time you collaborate. So I would say keep collaborating.
Right.
I'm a big fan of trying everything once.
Absolutely. Try anything.
That's great advice. Never be afraid of a new opportunity or a new plan, a new something. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Again, I thank you. For those
with Erica, because we don't live by each other.
I know. Well, it's nice that we can all get together, and it's so exciting. Congratulations on the series. We'll help support however we can, and you'll be able to find, if anyone's watching, the link will be in the main part of this video post. I'm like losing my thoughts, right? Like what things are called. Anyway, thank you guys. Thank you. The description. It will be in the description so everyone can find those books, which 3 are already available, and the 4 are already available. I got it. And the next 3 are coming out very soon. Well, thank you guys. Have a wonderful night.
And thank you so much for having us.
Bye. Bye, everyone.